Freewell has made ND filters for the Insta360 ONE R 4K mod, the 1" mod, and the 360 mod. Yep, the ONE R is the first 360 camera to have ND filters. But is it any good? Let's find out. But before I start the review, let's just go through what ND filters and polarizing filters actually do. If you wave your hand really fast in front of your face like this and look in between your hand movements, you'll notice that there is motion blur. And that's because motion blur is natural. And we also want our videos to look natural as well. So how do you get motion blur in camera? Well, shutter speed controls the amount of motion blur in your video. If you set a low shutter speed like 160, then you'll have more motion blur. And if you set a high shutter speed like 2000, then you'll get less motion blur. ND filters are like sunglasses for your camera. They reduce the amount of light entering the camera at different strengths. You will usually see ND filter numbers like this: ND4, which cuts 2 stops of light, ND8, which cuts 3 stops of light, ND16, which cuts 4 stops of light, and ND32, which cuts 5 stops of light. So what does it mean when I say it reduces X stops of light? Every time you half the shutter speed, you reduce 1 stop of light. So let's say my current shutter speed is 1/2000, half the shutter speed is now 1/1000, so now I've reduced 1 stop of light. Half the shutter speed again is now 1/500, so now I've reduced 2 stops of light, which is the same as ND4. Half the shutter speed again is now 1/250, so now I've reduced 3 stops of light, which is the same as ND8. Half the shutter speed again is now 1/125, so now I've reduced 4 stops of light, which is the same as ND16. Half the shutter speed again is now 160, so now I've reduced 5 stops of light, which is the same as applying ND32. So basically, ND filters will reduce your shutter speed to help you achieve more natural motion blur. But you need to be careful, because if you reduce the shutter speed too much, then your video will become blurry. Freewell also has NDs which go up to ND 1000, which reduces 10 stops of light. So it basically halves the shutter speed 10 times. A polarizing filter reduces reflections and glare. So now that you know what ND and polarizing filters do, let's take a closer look at the range of Freewell ND filters. For the 4K mod, Freewell has the standard day 4-pack, which includes ND4, 8, 16 and 32. Inside the packet, there is the ND filters in this very safe protective case and an envelope. Inside the envelope, you will find a filter guide, stickers, lifetime warranty, lens cloth, and video tutorials. So inside the case, we have all the filters, and it's very easy to install. So if I just take one of these filters out and get the 4K mod and put it closer so you can see it, all you need to do is just push it onto the lens like that, and it clips on. It's a very snug fit and it won't come off. The build quality is great, the optics are great, and it doesn't affect the video quality. So overall, it's really good. For the 1" edition, Freewell sent me the Bright Day 3-pack, which includes ND8, 16 and 32. And inside the packet, you have the filters, and you also get the envelope, which includes your lifetime warranty, your lens cloth, your video tutorials and stickers. The good thing about these filters is that it's an ND filter as well as a polarizing filter, so it's a 2-in-1, and I'll show you how to use it. It's very easy to install. So the first thing you're going to need to do is remove this cover just by unscrewing it. And if I get the filter out of the box, all you need to do is screw it on, just like the original one. If I screw it on, it's a very tight and snug fit. So you can see how it looks like on it. and you'll notice there's a ring and you can move it left and right to adjust the polarization. For the 360 mod, Freewell sent me the ND8 and ND16, and you'll see they come in separate packaging. They are not a set, so you got to buy these individually. They come in their own cases and have their own lens cloth. Let's take a closer look at ND8, and it's going to be the same for all the other NDs like ND16 and ND32. Inside the packet there is the black envelope, which includes the lens cloth, the lifetime warranty and the tutorials and all the other good stuff. Here we have the ND filters, which has the exact same design as the Insta360 lens guards. So if you want to use this on the ONE R, you need to make sure your ONE R is in the mounting cage so you can add these on. It's really easy to add on. It's exactly the same as the Insta360 lens guards. So you just need to find the hook at the bottom of the mounting cage and then hook the filter on the bottom and bring it up and push it into place, and it's clipped on. Now you need to do the same for the other side. Just hook it onto the bottom and bring it up and clip it into place, and now both filters are installed. Now to remove the filters from the stitch line in editing on the app or Insta360 Studio, you need to select Stitch for Lens Guards to remove it from the stitch line. The stitching quality with the ND filters on is really not that bad. If you've used the Insta360 lens guards before, then you can expect the same stitching results. If you're like me and you love using the boosted battery, then unfortunately there is bad news, because you can only use the ND filters with the standard battery inside the mounting cage, and there is no configuration to use it with the boosted battery. Just like the Insta360 lens guards, the ND filters gets on the way of the touchscreen, and the only way you can remedy this is by turning screen rotation on and then turn the ONE R on its side, and then you'll be able to access the menu from this side instead. But apart from that, it's all really good. So, should you buy Freewell ND filters? Well, yes, Freewell do make great ND filters, but the real question is, which one do you get? Because if you buy all of these, it will cost you a lot of money. Well, generally speaking, the ND filters you are going to use the most is ND8, 16 and 32. So personally for me, on a bright sunny day in London, I'll usually be on shutter speed 1/2000. So if I apply ND8, it will drop my shutter speed to 1/250, and that's a good shutter speed to get some more motion blur when I'm cycling around on bumpy roads. When it's a bright sunny day in London and I use ND16, then it will drop my shutter speed to 1/125, which is a good shutter speed to get motion blur when I'm just walking around London. And when it's a bright sunny day in London and I apply ND32, it will drop my shutter speed from 1/2000 to 160, and that's a good shutter speed to get motion blur when the camera is still on a monopod and I'm just filming a landscape or me talking to the camera or a time lapse, for example. For the 4K mod, I recommend you get the standard day 4 pack, which includes ND4, 8, 16 and 32. For the 1-inch edition, I recommend you get the bright day 3 pack, which includes ND8, 16 and 32. And for the 360 mod, if you're on a budget, then I recommend the ND8 filter, which will work for more situations and also double up as a lens guard. And if you have a little more cash in your pocket, then I recommend the ND16 and ND32. That's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. Leave a like if you did, subscribe for more awesome videos, and I'll see you guys in the next video.